Release the Kraken!
Welcome back, fellow game designers. In our last episode, we went ahead and set up our references for our enemy ship. And here we are in Maya. And because we made these nice in Photoshop, you can see they're perfectly centered. We didn't have to do anything to them. It's nice when a plan comes together. We're good here. I'll go ahead and close my references down, and we'll start making the ship. In the previous ship tutorial, we made the ship from a single piece. In this one, I'm going to make this from multiple pieces. So let's go ahead and drop ourselves in a cube, because that is the base shape of this object. All right, so let's go into our quad view. So hit spacebar. I'll hover over each of my viewports and just press 6 so I can bring the color up. Let's go to our front view. And I will maximize the shape of this cube. Now, pro tip, because this is pretty much the same on all sides, we can just scale it. So I hit the R key, and I want to scale. Now, very important, if you scale using your left scale, it might look fine in this view, okay? But check it out. In this view, in my side view, you can see it hasn't changed because my left scale only scales on the x-axis, okay? And I said left scale, but it's really the right scale because I can't tell direction. Okay, so I'm going to undo by hitting Control-Z, set this back, and instead I want to use the middle scale. What that'll do is it doesn't matter what viewport I'm in. If I middle scale and then I drag, I'm going to scale uniformly in all directions. See that? This is going and scaling in this direction and that direction and that direction, which is good. So I'm going to scale this until I'm the right size for that box there. And since I can't see what I'm doing because the box is covering it, I'll go up to my shading tab and I'll come down to X-ray. So X-ray, and I'll do that for each window. X-ray. And I'll leave it solid on my perspective view here. Okay, so now you can see this is the correct size for both of these, but it needs to be shorter. So I'm going to go ahead and just grab the scale tool. Now this time, I only care about scaling in my Y. So I'll grab my upscale, and I'll just scale it down. And then I'm going to go into my front view here, and I will just move it up. So W is the move tool, and I'll just move this, and I'm just going to try to get it to where it's center, just kind of visually. And I'll hit R again for scaling, and I'll just scale this down. And that looks like it's pretty close to how I want it to be. Awesome. And I can check my other view. Good, good, good. There is my ship. Pretty cool. Now, if I look from my top view, you can see that we have the first section of this made. But we need these little diamond shapes here. So there are a few different ways we can make those. I can go ahead and drop in a pyramid. I can make another cube and cut off one of the sides. But we don't have to do that. We can think outside the box and just rotate our cube. So I'm going to take this part of the cube, press Control-D, and that's going to give me a new cube. So there's my cube 2. Bring up my rotation tool by hitting E. And then I'll rotate this 45 degrees. So I'll hold down the J key. I'll grab this green inner bar, and I'll just rotate like so. And now I got this. And if you check, I did a rotation 45 degrees on the Y. It doesn't matter if it's positive or negative. You can see right now it's negative. If I do positive, I'm going to get the same shape. It doesn't matter. Okay, just as long as you're rotating on the Y. And if I go to my perspective, you can see there are my two sections. Now, I can't just leave them like this, because if you have two objects that are overlapping, you're going to have drawing issues. So you bring it into like Unity, or if you're going to render, Maya doesn't know which face to draw. So I kind of click this, and you see how I click? I can click either, and it'll just grab one or the other, because Maya says, okay, this one's selected, maybe he wants the other one. It doesn't really know which one, right? So what we should do is combine these two shapes. So I'll grab this one, and I'll grab that one, and I'm going to save this. I'm going to go up to File, Save Scene As. I'm going to change this from ship 01 to ship 02, and hit Save Scene. Now the reason I changed the number is if I break it, I can always start back to where we have our reference images. Okay? Alright, so now I have my two objects selected, I'm good and saved, and I'm going to combine these using a Boolean operation. So I'm going to go up to Edit, Delete by Type, History, clear all the history off these objects. This will make our Booleans a lot cleaner. So now that they're clean, I'll go up to Mesh, and if you don't see Mesh, make sure you're in Modeling. So Mesh, come down to Boolean, and then we have a few different options here. I'm going to go up to Union, and what this will do is it'll combine our shapes. So Union, and it will create a single shape from our two different shapes. And now it looks exactly the same, except it's a single piece of geometry. Check this out. This is our original. This is our other original, and you can see them here in our live Boolean window. This is what's going to be born out of these two, and it'll be a single object. If I go to Vertex Face, you can see how this is going to be cut up. And that looks good and clean. I don't have any issues with that. So if you're happy with the way that is, you can then confirm your selection by taking the new one, go up to Edit, and then Delete by Type, History. And now this is our new object, ready to go. It's a single object. We don't have overlapping faces. I can select this face. Like if I were to delete that, you can see it's just one face. Awesome. Okay. Now we do have an issue with this being an Ngon, but we're going to solve that. So Ngons also cause some drawing issues. They tend to tear when they're being rendered. If you bend them, they get weird, and they don't like to stay solid. They get a bit finicky. So best practices are, if you have to have an Ngon, subdivide it to make it into some quads. So I'm going to grab my multi-cut tool here, and I need to cut in the shape here to make it valid. So I'm going to grab this point, come across to here, click, and then right click or hit enter to make it solid. I'll do that again here, and enter to make it solid. And now we have quads. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 points. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 points. 1, 2, 3, and 4 makes 4 points. I'll do the same thing on the bottom. So this one across to the other one, and then this one across to the other one. Okay, and now I have 4 corners. So 4 corners here, 4 corners there, 4 corners there. Quads are good, triangles are good. Ngons, which are faces with more than 4, are considered bad, so don't do those. Alright, so now we have to make these little diamond things that are on here. Those are pretty easy. The simplest shape to make that would be a pyramid. So I'm going to come up to Create, come down to Polygon Primitives, and then in this list you will find a pyramid. So there it is. I'll go ahead and hit Create, get my Move tool, I'll just move this up. And you can see it's kind of tiny. So let me go to one of my views here. Let's do a top view. That'll be pretty good. So in my top view, I'm going to go ahead and scale it, so R for scale. And I'm going to use my middle scale to scale uniformly. And that looks like it is the right size here. Pretty good. Let's go into our front or our side view. Let's go ahead and move that down. You can see that this is a bit bigger than the desired shape, but it does fit my reference here. So what you could do is just ignore it, but check this out. If I try to make these corners fit this reference, it's going to be smaller here. That just means that when I made this in Photoshop, I didn't check that. It's okay, not that big of a deal. Pick one design that you prefer and kind of go with it. I'm going to trust my top view and leave it at that. So there we have it. We have this, it's in place, I'm happy with it, yay. So we got that. Let's go ahead and make the corner pieces. So I'm going to go into my top view again. Let me select the pyramid here. I'm going to do Control D to duplicate. Now I have a new pyramid that I can move. And all I need to do is shape this to the correct position. So E for rotation, and then J to snap rotate. So about 45 degrees, that looks good. I'll just move this here. And I kind of want this to be more center. So in this case, I'm just going to hide my reference. I'll grab my reference. I'll hit H to hide it. Because I'm actually going to snap this to the grid. You can see the grid is back there. I'm going to hold down the X key. And I'm going to drag my left arrow to the grid. And I'll drag my bottom arrow up. And that's pretty good on the corner. Like that. And if you look at the reference, I'll turn the reference back on. So grab that, press H. The reference has these little diamond thingies. They're flat on one side. And they're a bit smaller than the original. So let's go into one of my views here. Let's go into the front. I'll grab this. I'm going to shrink this down. So get my scale tool. Now if I scale this, you see how it's going to raise up into the air? Since I don't want that to happen, I can change the location of my widget. I'm going to hit the W key to bring up the move tool. I'll press D to unlock. If I press D again, I'll lock it. So I'll go ahead and hit D to unlock. I'll hold the V key, and then I'll drag the up arrow to the bottom of this pyramid. You can see it snaps to these vertices here. And then D again to lock it. And now when I scale it, it's going to scale toward my pivot. So I'm going to go ahead and hit scale. Grab middle scale, and now it's going to scale down to about that size. That's good. Now, it does have this positioned here, but since I'm the artist, I actually like the positioning here. So I'm going to go into my top view, and this is nice and centered on the grid, which is good, but I am going to take this corner and flatten that corner off. So I'm going to grab my vertex tool, so vertex, and I will grab the vertex that's here. And I want this to be in the middle over here. So to do that, I'm going to hold down X, I'm going to drag left, and then I'm going to hold down X and drag to the top. And now I have this flat look here. And if I take a look, we hit F to frame on this. We've got the flat pyramid on that side, and that looks really good. Awesome. So here's what we could do. We could duplicate this and rotate it, or we can mirror it. Either one works. I'll show you both. So if I go into my top view here, select our pyramid, make sure we're in object mode, Control D to duplicate. I'll bring up the move tool. I'll hold down the X key, and then I will snap it all the way over. And now I just have to rotate it. So hit the E key, hold down J, and I'll grab the inner circle, and then just rotate like so. Like about there. We should be, if we check our rotation, we should be at 135 degrees. Okay, looks pretty good. We should be good in center right there. Now we can continue that. We can duplicate it and rotate it again. But check this out. Check this out. If I go up to mesh, and then I come down to mirror, go to the options. In my options box here, I can say, hey, I want this to be mirrored across, let's see, this is going in my Z direction. You can see the compass over here. There's Z. So I want to mirror across Z. And you can see Z is conveniently selected for me. I'm going to do this as a copy. I'm going to check my mirror position and my axis. So if I do it on the object, it's going to think that it wants me to mirror across the object here. I actually want to mirror across my world. So I'm going to change this to world. And then I'm going to come down to combine with original. I'm going to say no, so uncheck that. And then apply. And there it goes. It created another one over there for me. Pretty convenient, right? And I can select the new one, or I can select this one over here. It doesn't matter which one. So I can mirror off of this, or I can mirror off of that. If I grab this one and hit mirror again, since I'm just mirroring across my Z-axis, it'll be easy peasy. If I grab this one, that means I want to mirror across my X. So I can go ahead and hit X here, and I can mirror that way. Either one works. It doesn't matter which one you pick. Just make sure you're on the correct axis, If I'm using this one, I should be on Z. If I'm doing this one, I need to be on X. My kitten was just yelling at me. Okay, so now that they're all mirrored and we're good there, we can close that. We can go into our perspective view here. And we have all those made. All right, now let's go ahead and name all of our pieces. So this is my main ship, so it's going to be, it just says enemy ship. And if it's your boss ship, you can name it boss. If it's your small enemy or medium enemy, you name it appropriately. I'm just going to go ahead and name it enemy. And then these crystals here, I'm going to go ahead and just name these. So this will be big crystal. And then I'll do these ones as crystals 1, 2, 3, and 4. So it doesn't really matter which one you start with. Let's grab this one. I'll do crystal 1, and then I'll copy that. And then I'll go to the next one. I'll just paste that in. And that's going to be crystal 2. And if Maya is good, it'll update the name for me. If it doesn't update the name, just change it, so it should be crystal 2. And then crystal 3. And then crystal 4. There we go. Crystal 4. And then I want to group all these together. So I'm going to take the crystals. So I'll just shift select. And then I will drag those into my main ship here. So just middle mouse, click and drag into here. And now we should have that in there. If you hit the shift and then click the little icon there, you can open that up. So now those are all part of the main ship. And if I grab the main ship body, I have the whole thing. So the last thing we're going to do for this is UVs, and whenever you make a 3D model, you have to do the UVs. If you don't, you won't know how to draw the color on. So we're going to open up the UV editor. I'm going to go up to the top here, UVs, UV editor. If you don't have the UV option, make sure you go to modeling and check that you're in modeling here. Okay, so modeling, UV, UV editor. All right, so in here, we can see we have some UVs. And all a UV is our 3D shape cut into a 2D shape. So this is the pyramid and this is the bottom of the pyramid. And if I go to face selection, you can see that 1, 2, 3, and 4, those represent the different cuts. So this is one of the sides, this is another side, this is another side over here, and so on. And this UV layout is actually okay. Maya will create default UVs for your primitive shapes, and since we didn't really change the pyramid, we actually don't have to do anything to it. So our pyramids are good, we can ignore them. I'll just go to object mode here, and you can just double check. Each pyramid should have the default UVs. Okay, but our enemy ship, the main ship, go ahead and grab that, and since this is a parent object, it has some children, you can see it's displayed here. To hide the children from our view, just hit the down arrow. Make sure your mouse is out here on your main ship. Just hit the down arrow. And you'll see it will deselect these crystals for us, and it should only have the main body. And you can see that listed here. So this is not a good UV layout. So some of this stuff is overlapping. So this overlaps with some of the other pieces. This is the side over here. This one's missing, and then these are kind of scattered. So we have to clean up these UVs. The simplest way, really, is to just take a top projection of this and then do a cylindrical projection for the body. I know that sounds weird, but trust me. So we're going to go to object mode here. So just right-click, go to object mode. And then I'm going to go up to the create tab. I'm going to come down to planar. I'm going to grab the option box. Inside the option box here, we want to set this to the Y. So I'll go ahead and check Y. And that's going to be our top projection. And if I hit apply, you can see it's going to give us this amazing layout. And this looks a lot more like our ship here, which is great. But there is a problem. So if I close this window and I go into face selection, you can see this is a good layout, but my top and my bottom occupy the same space. You can see that here. So my bottom is here, and my top is also here. The rules of UVs is you don't overlap inside of your UV space. So we're going to separate our top and our bottom. Easiest way to do that is to select all of our side pieces and just project this. So I'm going to come out to here, and you can see the side as I'm going through. You can see they're completely flat from this view. That's another reason why we don't want to do that, because these are all flat. So I'm going to come out to the side here. I'm going to select this one. Go ahead and hit Q to turn off your tool and get your pointer. Select one of the faces here. Hold Shift and then double click one of these faces. It doesn't matter which one. It can be left or right. I'll just double click the next one, and you'll see it'll grab a ribbon all the way around the model there. Okay. Go ahead and try that again just so you can see it. So I'll have my mouse over, hold Shift, click the first face, go to the next one, double click, and it'll grab around. And you see we have all those selected here. And what we're going to do is a cylindrical projection. So go up to Create, come down to Cylindrical. I'll go ahead and just hit that. And what that's going to do is it's going to take a cylinder. You can see the projection window here. There is a cylinder that wraps around my object, and it takes a picture of each one of the panels for me. And you can see that here. And this is the cylinder unwrap. So it took a picture from all the different sides and it unwrapped it for me, which is really nice. So I'll go into UVs, and I will double click my cylinder unwrap here. I'll just move this down. I'm just going to go ahead and maximize my window. So now I have this one, and I can double click on this thing and just move off of that, and I have that one. If you're not sure how I'm moving, I have the move tool selected by hitting W. Okay, so now I have my top and my bottom, and I also have my side. So I'm going to just lay these out here, grab my side, I'll just put this under here, and I'm going to shrink this down so that it's a little bit more in line with how this is laid out. So my scale tool, and I'll drag my top scale down. And then I'm going to want to scale in my left and right direction, or horizontal. And the reason for that is, if you look, if I bring this up, each one of these panels is one of these sides. And you can see this side here is a lot bigger than this side. Okay, so I need to stretch this out so it's equal in size to this side. So I'll take all this, and I'm just going to hit the scale tool, and I'll scale to my right until the box is about as big as each panel. And right there is pretty good. You can see this UV and that UV is about the same size from here to there. And that's just a general rule of thumb. You want your UVs to be roughly the same size consistently around your model. So that looks good. And now I want to lay this out. So this needs to be laid out on my 0 to 1 space. So this whole thing is my UV space, but most programs will not read out here. It'll only read from our 0-1 space, which is this block right here. You can see the little 0, and we have a red and green line, and we have a 1 and a 1. So this is 0 to 1 space right here. To get all this to fit there, we're going to take it all, and we'll go down to the Arrange and Layout option, come down to Layout, and hit that. And Maya will go through and lay this out for us, and this is pretty good. So now we have our side, and we have our top and our bottom. And if I take this into here, you can see it. So which one is this? This is the bottom, this is the top. Okay. And now we want to also put our triangles on here. So I'm going to go ahead and select my whole model. So just grab that. You can see now my triangles are up here. And I want to lay these out here as well. Select each triangle, so I'm going to grab each one using Control. Let's go ahead and right click in here. I'll do UVs. I'll grab these UVs. I'm just going to move them off for a second. Now I'll grab my whole thing. So now all of these UVs are in the same spot. The reason I did that is it's easier for me to grab them. And now I'm just going to lay them out over here. So in this view, right click, go to UV, grab all these, and I'm going to scale them down. So I hit R, and I'll just middle scale, and I'll bring these over here. I'll go to face selection. I'll go ahead and double click that, and then I'll hold shift and click that. So this is one UV group, and I'll just move that off. Then I'll grab this one, double click it, then click on the next one. I'll move that off. Double click this one again, and then that one. I'll move this one off. And then I'll double click again, and then that one again, and I'll move this one off. Okay, because we had 5 shapes here. And now I just have to make sure these all fit in this space. So the easiest thing to do is I'm gonna move this one up. So I'll go into my UV selection here, grab my face. I'll just double click this line. I'll move these up. And then I'll move my pyramids up. So I'll just grab all these. I'll just drag select to grab this. And I'll move those up. And then I'll grab these ones. I'll move those up. Just make sure they're not overlapping. You don't want things to be overlapping or touching. So I'll make sure that these are not touching. Okay. And that should do it for our UV layout. No touching, no overlaps, we're good. We can close down our UVs now. Let's go back to our object mode. And you'll see that modifying the UVs changed our construction history. We're gonna go ahead and just clear history. So edit, delete all by type, history. And that's gonna do it. And the next one, we will go through the process of texturing this. So hope you learned something, stay tuned, and I shall see you next time. Hey guys, thank you for checking out my channel. Misty and I both thank you. If you enjoyed that video you just watched, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. Or if you want to support the channel, check me out on Patreon or pick up one of my books, Life and Times Down in Marton or The Guardian's Path of Ascension. Speaking of which, I'm converting The Guardians into a graphic novel / comic book series. Here is a sneak peek. My wonderful artist, Patrick, is doing a great job. I'm excited. I want to push this out as soon as possible. So definitely keep your ears and eyes open for that. I'll be making announcements as we get closer, and I'll post some shots of that as we go. And if you want to follow me on social media, you can check me out on Twitter. I guess now it's X. Who does that? It's BruceRF1 at Twitter, or at whatever the new thing for Twitter is. Anyway, hopefully see you there, and I'll see you guys next time.